You are standing in the motor oil aisle of your local auto parts store, staring at a massive wall of plastic jug. Your owner's manual specifically calls for a modern 5W30 full synthetic, but your buddy, who claims to know absolutely everything about building engines, told you that switching to a thicker one, 0W40, will protect your high-mileage engine much better. You grab the thicker oil, pour it in on a Saturday afternoon, and without even realizing it, you have just condemned your engine to an early grave. It is a massive misconception that thicker oil automatically equals better protection. Modern Japanese and American engines from manufacturers like Toyota and Ford are built with incredibly tight microscopic tolerances. We are talking about bearing clearances that are thinner than a human hair. The W in oil weight stands for winter, which dictates how the fluid flows when it is freezing outside. When you wake up on a cold January morning and turn the key, that thick one, 0W40, acts like cold maple syrup. It cannot travel fast enough through the tiny oil galleries to reach the camshafts at the very top of the engine. For roughly 30 agonizing seconds, your valve train is spinning completely dry, with metal grinding directly on metal. Toyota engineers have extensively documented that over 70% of premature engine failures are directly linked to owners using the wrong viscosity. A fleet of Tokyo taxicabs or New York City cruisers routinely hit 500,000 miles precisely because they use the exact specified oil grade. It maintains the correct hydrodynamic fluid film, ensures instant cold start lubrication, and keeps your engine running exactly as designed. Moving slightly away from the engine block, we have an electrical nightmare hiding in plain sight that most drivers completely ignore until they are stranded in a parking lot. I am talking about the heavy buildup of white or greenish blue crust growing on your battery terminals. That fuzzy crust is copper sulfate, a highly corrosive byproduct of acidic gases venting from your battery case and reacting with the moisture in the air and the copper in your cables. Most people think it is just an ugly cosmetic issue, but it acts as a massive electrical insulator. It creates a brutal wall of resistance between the battery and the starter motor. Your alternator has to work overtime, pushing maximum voltage just to punch through that crust to keep the battery charged, which eventually burns out the alternator's internal voltage regulator. Even worse, modern cars have dozens of sensitive sensors that require a perfect 1-2 volt reference signal. That corrosion causes voltage drops that make your engine control unit freak out, causing random misfires, jerky shifting, and a dashboard lit up like a Christmas tree. You can fix this in 10 minutes. Disconnect the negative terminal first, then the positive. Mix a simple paste of baking soda and warm water and scrub the metal posts with an old toothbrush. The baking soda instantly neutralizes the battery acid. Rinse it clean, dry it completely, and before you bolt everything back together, coat the bare metal with a layer of dielectric grease. This creates a permanent moisture barrier so the corrosion never comes back. Just make sure you know your radio anti-theft code before you pull the power, or you will be driving in silence. Before we dive under the hood to look at the invisible sensor that is secretly draining your gas tank and robbing your horsepower, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on these real-world garage fixes. If your car feels incredibly sluggish when you step on the gas pedal, if the engine shakes at a red light, or if your fuel economy has suddenly dropped by 5 or 10 mpg, your engine is probably not dying. You likely just have a dirty mass airflow sensor. This tiny sensor sits right behind your air filter box, and it has one of the most important jobs in your entire vehicle. It measures the exact mass and temperature of the air entering the intake manifold. Inside the sensor housing is a microscopic platinum wire that the computer heats up to a specific temperature. As outside air rushes past the wire, it cools it down. The computer constantly measures how much electrical current is required to keep that wire hot and uses a complex mathematical algorithm to calculate the air volume. But over time, especially if you drive in dusty environments or use those aftermarket oiled cotton air filters, a microscopic layer of dirt and oil bakes onto that hot wire. It acts exactly like a thermal blanket. The wire can no longer feel the air rushing past it, so the sensor tells the computer the engine is barely getting any air. The computer responds by pulling back the fuel injectors, resulting in a severe lean condition, horrible hesitation, and a rough stumbling idle. You do not need to spend $200 on a new part. Pull the sensor out, unplug the harness, and generously spray the delicate wire with a dedicated mass airflow sensor cleaner. Never use brake cleaner or carburetor cleaner, because those aggressive solvents will melt the plastic housing and permanently destroy the electronic. Let it air dry on your workbench for 10 minutes, bolt it back in, and your throttle response will instantly return to factory specification. Another massive money pit that drivers completely ignore is wheel alignment. A significant portion of people admit they have not had their suspension geometry checked in years. You hit a deep pothole at 60 miles per hour, the steering wheel violently jerks, and you just keep driving because the tire did not blow out. But that heavy impact just bent your steering tie rod by a fraction of an inch, altering your toe angle. Toe is whether your front tires are pointing slightly inward towards each other or slightly outward. If the tires are pointing away from each other, they are no longer rolling smoothly down the highway. They are constantly fighting each other, physically dragging the inner edge of the rubber sideways across the harsh asphalt. This acts like a giant eraser, completely scrubbing the tread off the inside of the tire. You might look at the outside face of the tire in your driveway and think you have plenty of tread left, but the inside is worn all the way down to the metal steel belts. An incorrect alignment also destroys your fuel economy. You are forcing the engine to push against the massive rolling resistance of two tires plowing sideways, which can easily drop your efficiency by up to 10%. If your steering wheel is crooked when you are driving straight, or if the car constantly pulls to the left or right, your alignment is heavily compromised. You cannot fix this with a wrench in your driveway. It requires a sophisticated laser alignment rack at a professional shop to adjust the camber, caster, and toe back to the factory degrees. Spending $100 on an alignment every 15,000 miles will easily save you $1,000 in prematurely ruined tires. We are about to look at a $10 piece of plastic that will literally blow out your engine seals and cause massive oil leaks if you ignore it. But before I reveal exactly where it is hiding and how to swap it out, hit that subscribe button to keep your mechanical knowledge razor sharp. The component I am talking about is the PCV valve, which stands for positive crankcase ventilation. When your engine runs, the combustion explosions inside the cylinders are incredibly violent. The piston rings are designed to seal that pressure, but they are not perfect. A small amount of hot, high-pressure exhaust gas always blows past the rings and enters the bottom of the engine block, known as the crankcase. If that pressure is not constantly vented, it will build up rapidly until it finds the weakest point to escape. Usually, that weak point is your expensive rear main seal or your valve cover gaskets. You will suddenly find massive puddles of oil on your driveway and wonder why your engine is hemorrhaging fluid. The PCV valve is a simple one-way check valve that connects the crankcase back to the intake manifold, allowing the engine vacuum to suck those blow-by gases out and burn them safely in the combustion chamber. But over thousands of miles, the heavy oil vapors turn into a thick, black sludge that completely clogs the internal spring mechanism of the PCV valve. The valve jams shut, the crankcase pressure skyrockets, and your oil seals blow out. This valve is usually sitting right on top of the valve cover, held in by a rubber grommet. You simply pull it out, shake it next to your ear, and if it does not rattle freely, like a spray paint can, it is completely clogged. You can buy a brand new one at any auto parts store for less than $10. Popping a new one in takes 30 seconds and will literally save you from a $1,000 oil leak repair down the road. Finally, we have to talk about the most neglected fluid in your entire vehicle, the brake fluid. You might check your oil every month and top off your coolant, but almost nobody thinks about the liquid actually stopping their 2-ton machine. Traditional .3 and .4 brake fluids are highly hygroscopic. That means they act like a chemical sponge, aggressively absorbing moisture straight out of the atmosphere. It pulls water right through the microscopic pores of the rubber brake hoses over time. Brand new brake fluid has a boiling point of over 400 degrees Fahrenheit. But when you are driving down a steep, winding mountain road, riding the brakes heavily, the friction at the brake pads generates massive amounts of heat that transfers directly into the brake calipers and boils the fluid. If your fluid is 3 or 4 years old, it has absorbed so much water that its boiling point has dropped drastically. When water boils inside the brake lines, it turns into steam. Liquid cannot be compressed, which is why hydraulic brakes work so well. But steam is a highly compressible gas. You press the brake pedal in a panic stop, And instead of clamping the rotors, the pedal goes straight to the floorboard with zero resistance because you are just compressing steam. It is an absolutely terrifying experience known as total brake fade. To keep your braking system safe and responsive, you must flush the old, dark, contaminated fluid out and bleed in fresh, clear fluid every 2 years, regardless of how many miles you have driven. It keeps the internal ABS pump from rusting and guarantees your pedal will be rock solid when you need it most. So there you have it. The real mechanical truth behind why engines fail early, why your gas mileage is tanking, and how completely ignoring simple chemistry can cost you thousands of dollars at the repair shop. By taking control of these overlooked maintenance items, you are not just keeping your car on the road, you are drastically extending its life and protecting your wallet. I want to hear from you right now. Jump down into the comment section and tell me what the absolute worst maintenance disaster you have ever dealt with was, or let me know what kind of weird idle or tire wear issues your current car is fighting. Let's figure out the solution together in the comments, and if this video helped you understand your engine better today, smash that subscribe button, give the video a like, and keep those wrenches turning.